how do men behave as accountable allies? What do we do? What does it look like behaviorally? Rob, let's start with you.
Yeah, sure, Chuck. I think, for me, this is kind of all about actions. When we talk about allyship, I think it's important that we're supportive and, we kind of say the right things, but I think it's all about what we do as well. So this, um, you know, emphasis on behavior is, I think, really important. I think the first thing that I see, and some of this is backed up by some of the research that I've been involved in with people like Professor Elizabeth Keelan at Essex University, basically who studied, what effective leaders are doing in this space. And the first thing really is about developing their own self-awareness and really listening to others. So I think, kind of we should really behave by listening in the very first place, I think, and making sure that we kind of really acknowledge what others are experiencing. Because going back to your point about privilege, I think it's absolutely true. A lot of us men do not see the things that others experience in the workplace because they don't just happen to us. So unless we educate ourselves by talking to people that have those experiences, how are we going to learn what those are and how we can play our role in sort of overcoming them? So I think there's that kind of thing, and then I think also really we have to behave by developing our what I call my elevator pitch. Like when I'm talking to
Mm,
others about why this is so important. So I'm encouraging and working with leaders to really be very authentic around the personal reason why they're doing this, and then obviously the why for the company as well. Um, and then, of course, it's about what they do to support this happening in the workplace. So, if they actually intervene and get involved in things like hiring decisions and retention decisions, I've seen very effective allies, uh, you know, want to sponsor women, for example, and
mhm.
help them develop through the organization. So there's a lot of things that they would do to actually enable that. But I think kind of the bottom line really is around them role modeling this to others, especially to other men,
Right.
to show how this is done. So, for me, that's about kind of understanding where they can play their part, really doing the work of doing that, and then really, kind of role modeling that as examples to others.
Yeah, yeah, I love the connection to other men because sometimes the trap of the ally language, and the even reason the word ally sometimes can be looked at without raised eyebrows, is that if we let it creep into this heroic narrative, like I'm the only guy at the women's conference, so look at me. That's pretty much violating the whole spirit of the thing.
Yeah.
Um, so that kind of accountability, maybe about the mix of what we do and what we also don't do. Brad, what are you thinking about this behavioral side?
I first of all want to second everything Rob just offered. I think that's all brilliant. It's spot on. Just a few others that I would want to include in the mix. So, number one, do I notice things like who's included? Are women even in the room?
Mm.
Did they get the invite? Do they feel comfortable? Do they feel like they have a voice? Are they being interrupted? Am I noticing some of this stuff using some good situational awareness? And then let's get right to the really tough stuff, right? Disrupting in real time sexism and bias when that does rear its head, and it will in most places. Do you say something? And then when you do, how do you do that? Do you disrupt in sort of an egalitarian way that makes it very clear that you're uncomfortable because we men need to be showing up as real partners for equity?
Mhm.
Or do you show up and do a lot of rescuing and white knighting in a way that I think can actually disempower your female colleagues? And that often is not going to land the right way.
Yeah.
When something is really egregious, I think often in those moments we need to call it out directly and be very clear about what's not okay. There are a lot of other times, getting back to Rob's important point about bringing other men along, where
Uh-huh.
I can go to a gentleman who stepped in it in a meeting. Maybe he has no idea he did,
Right.
was very offensive. I can go to him, close the door, and in a spirit of what I call carefrontation, just say, "Hey, brother, no, when you
Mm.
did that today, everyone
Mhm.
cringed. Can I just share with
Mm.
you why? And I'm sharing this because I care about you, and you've got to
Mhm.
get better. It's affecting the team in a way that I know you don't intend, and I'm here for you, but you've got to work on this." So I think allies need to show up tactically that way. Just a couple other things. I think the loud sponsorship. We talk a lot about mentoring women, being friends, and we should be all of those things with our female colleagues. But one thing that's, I think, a vacuum in a lot of organizations is loud sponsorship of
Mhm.
women. So, you have all these talented junior women around you. You see their terrific potential and performance. Are you talking about her when she's not even in the room, right? Are you her raving fan? I see a lot of men showing up with discomfort in that area. If I'm talking about her, what will people think? That'll be awkward. Well, I got to get used to that, right?
Mhm.
Exposure therapy. I need to practice loudly sponsoring women the same way I more naturally may
Uh-huh.
perhaps sponsor men.